Hello, everyone, and welcome into the Butt Fumble Sports Daily Show, second edition here on this Friday. Had our morning show and hopefully gave out a bunch of good picks for you as the Dolphins won and covered. We also called Raheem Mostert getting a touchdown and Tyreek Hill getting a touchdown. That is cashing twice. For all of those out there that watched, I hope you guys did. We are back. Subscriber-only show on TikTok. But we are on YouTube, Twitch, and Kick as well. So if you guys have fantasy questions, either subscribe on TikTok or jump on over to YouTube and get your questions in. Jorge, I already see you on YouTube. Hope you're having a wonderful Black Friday. For all of those watching, make sure you go to our store, buttfumblesports.com, and get yourself some merchandise using the code BUTT, B-U-T-T, all capitalized, and get yourself 50% off everything in our store. Damian Skyberg, I told you to take Tua Tagovailoa over half an interception. That one cashed as well. We actually had a very successful Black Friday. If not for the Detroit Lions losing yesterday, we would be perfect on our picks yesterday and today. As crazy as it is, we were that close. The Lions pooping the bed away from a perfect ticket over the last 2 days. Hopefully we can give out a lot more winners. Now that said, unfortunately, Boston Celtics and the Boston Bruins didn't show up on Black Friday. Both of those picks failed, but we had a number of other NBA and NHL picks come through. I hope a lot of you guys have been cashing tickets today. Dante, I know you cashed on that one. Great to see you. Luke, let's get into some fantasy questions again. Fantasy questions being answered tonight. Out of Etienne, Barkley, Kyron, and JT, which are the best come playoff weeks? Great question. I don't have a great answer for you on that, Luke, and here's why. JT's probably the best owned, but I don't know his matchups. I haven't looked that far ahead on the Colts. Kyron Williams, I really like him to get touchdowns. Problem for him has been staying healthy. Barkley's issue, are the Giants going to stay competitive in terms of actually trying, given their status in terms of draft for next year? And are they going to put Barkley on the field, given they don't want to run him into the ground in case it affects his health for 2024? Etienne and JT would be the two I like the most, simply because they're going to get the most touches and opportunities. I don't think JT is going to get pulled off the field, in part because at the box score from this Jets-Dolphins game, which was abysmal at times. Jalen Waddle had 114 points. Too bad. We did recommend him to some of you guys, but I didn't think he'd get in the end zone, and he did not. I liked Hill a little bit more for that reason. Hill got 102 yards and a touchdown, so I stand by that pick. But we did give out Waddle to a number of you guys. Awareness, I hope whoever we did recommend was a better play for you, or will be this upcoming week. If you have a fantasy football question and you want to get it into the comment section, all you have to do is subscribe on TikTok or jump on over to YouTube, Twitch, or Kick. We're answering questions until I go out in about 25-30 minutes. Xander Simmons, will Hawkinson rib injury take away from his productivity? I don't think so. It's more about the fact that he finished that game with the rib injury tells you everything you need to know, Xander, which is he is one tough mofo. But additionally, I also like the opportunity for him to get that rest. If he's not healthy enough to be on the field, he won't be. Kevin O'Connell's not going to risk his long-term health. So if he's on the field, I feel comfortable starting him. I'm glad I picked up the Dolphins defense this week. Luke, absolutely a great play. What do you think about Josh Downs this week? Awareness. Not only am I recommending Josh Downs to be in the lineup of a number of you guys, I actually was just putting together my player prop bets for Sunday. I like his over receiving yards total. Josh Downs, great matchup against the Bucs. I think Josh Downs could be one of the better sleeper plays of the week. Christian Silva, time to drop Zach Moss and save a bench spot for a future waiver wire pickup. Yeah, probably, because Zach Moss has a bad matchup this week. JT's opportunities are only growing. At this point, the Zach Moss momentum has slowed down enough for me to look elsewhere. Eric, is T. Higgins droppable? T. Higgins is out this week, guys. T. Higgins out again. Eric, I'm almost to that point where you need players who can produce, who can get you points, with no Joe Burrow on the field for the Bengals. T. Higgins having that hamstring injury is just leading all to the same conclusion. You probably should go find someone else who can, if nothing else, provide you consistent points. You can't say that about T. Higgins. Jorge, Flowers and Njoku or Rice. So Zay Flowers is going to play on Sunday. I just heard Zay Flowers will play. Odell Beckham Jr. is a game time decision. Nervous about that one. Jorge, I would go Zay Flowers because the matchup is so favorable. I like him just a little bit more than Rice. It's close, but the matchup is such where I've got to go with Flowers. If you want to get your fantasy question answered, all you have to do is subscribe on TikTok or jump on over to YouTube, Twitch, and Kick. We are answering fantasy questions for the next 20 minutes. Make sure you guys hit that subscribe button to get in on the action and the conversation. I dropped T. Higgins for a tight end for Kincaid bye week. Absolutely. Awareness, I like the idea. Eric, Downs or Pittman or both? I'm thinking both, Eric. Now, I understand if you don't want to double up, but frankly, both should get good points for you in fantasy. Like I said, I was just looking at the player prop bets. Both have favorable over-unders on receiving yards. Receptions, I think Pittman might be a little high. It's at 5.5. That might jump to 6.5 over the coming days. But I love them both on yardage, so I think both are a good play this week. Appreciate you guys being with us on this Black Friday. I hope you guys have been getting in some good shopping, watching some good sports, and of course, enjoying time with your families wherever you guys are. Diego Gonzalez, who's scoring more points this week? Collins, White, Stevenson, Hurts, or Keegan? Oh, which group? Okay, Nico Collins, White, Stevenson, Hurts, Keenan Allen, Diggs, Mahomes, Taysom Hill. Really close. This is a great question. It's going to be the Nico Collins, White, Stevenson, Hurts side. Diego, I think that's the one that actually scores more points. Though Diggs and Mahomes could have monster games. Your Trash Kid 2000, Sutton, D-Hop, Shakir. Oof. Your Trash Kid, I think it's going to be Shakir. I'm going to lean away from D-Hop on this one. The problem with D-Hop is you're so reliant on him getting that touchdown that if he doesn't get it, brutal. Shakir, I really like that one. I click RIP Mostert in my lineup. I hope Mostert was in your lineup. Mostert had a monster day. I told you guys Raheem Mostert was one of my favorite fantasy running backs of week 12. And what did he do? Came up just shy of 100 rushing yards and 2 touchdowns. By the way, I had a ton of player prop bet parlays with him and getting an anytime touchdown. They're all still alive, so we're looking forward to Sunday. I got the Nico side, so that's good to hear. Diego, love to hear it for you. Christian Silva, have Pickens, Shaheed on my bench. Drop one for Godwin. Any tight end sleepers? Christian, let me know who's available in the waiver wire for tight end, and I'll let you know which ones I like. In terms of Pickens, Shaheed on my bench and drop one for Godwin, the answer is yes. I'd rather have Godwin than I think both of them. I think Godwin's the best owned out of the entire 3. Yeah, I click. He scored his second touchdown. And by the way, it was a big run. So I click before you think that things are done. No, Raheem Mostert had a monster day today. He absolutely confirmed or affirmed the advice we were giving out earlier. Thoughts on Garrett Wilson rest of season after today's game? Dylan, it's the exact same as what it was prior to today's game. Garrett Wilson, in terms of talent, is a top 10 wide receiver in the NFL. Unfortunately, he has a bottom 20, bottom 30 quarterback throwing to him at all times. I actually think Garrett Wilson is the great example now of a player who's supremely talented, who doesn't have the capability of getting out of the hell he's in because he lacks talent around him at the crucial position of quarterback. So Garrett Wilson, to me, through the rest of the season, he'll be targeted. He can still get touchdowns just like today. The problem is he's not going to be used to his full capacity, or he's not going to get the opportunity to get the most possible points because he's just held back by the person throwing him the ball. So I love Garrett Wilson. I still think he can be a wide receiver too for you in terms of value, but frankly, the quarterback situation in New York is so pathetic that it does negatively impact his value. Nuve DK, Keaton Mitchell or OBJ? This is a tricky one. Nuve DK, OBJ is going to be a game time decision. If he is healthy enough to go, 100% I would go with OBJ. However, because both players are on the Ravens, if OBJ somehow is not going to go, you automatically can slot Mitchell in. But what's crucial, Nuve DK, is you have to put these players at the flex. So put Odell Beckham Jr. at your flex. That way you have that flexibility to swap in Mitchell if OBJ doesn't play. But if he is healthy enough to go, Odell Beckham Jr. is a great start this week as long as he's healthy enough. What can I get for Justin Jefferson? At this point, I think you could get a running back too. I don't think you can get into that RB1 slot, but it's close.
Eric, Downs, Collins, Rice, Moore, pick 2. Okay, DJ Moore is a must start for me this week. I'm leaning slightly, I think, towards Collins over Downs. It's very, very close. I'll lean towards DJ Moore and Collins. I like the wide receiver 1s. Downs being a wide receiver 2 pulls me back a little bit, but those would be the 2. Boltillo, thanks so much for subscribing. Appreciate you joining the community. Great to have you as a subscriber. Awareness. I started Olave and DJ Moore and Josh Down on the flex. Thumbs up awareness. I'm not as crazy about Olave as others are. However, I still like him having Derek Carr back as opposed to Jameis Winston. Boltillo, great to have you with us. Josh Jacobs and Justin Jefferson for Keenan Allen and Javonte Williams. Great question. This is a great question. I'm going to lean slightly towards the Keenan Allen, Javonte Williams side, and this is why. I still don't know what JJ is yet. He's out 2 more weeks. He's out this week. He has a bye week, I believe, next week, so that only makes it harder for you to get value for him. I got to double check. I want to double check that before I double down on that. I'm pretty sure the Vikings have their bye week next week. Yeah, they do. They do. So because of that, that impacts his value. That's why I'm leaning towards Keenan Allen and Javonte Williams. Vikings have that late bye. So because of that, you're really only getting Josh Jacobs' value for 2 weeks. I'd rather have Allen and Javonte. Even after that, Allen and Javonte could be good owns. Randy Stacy, should I play Keenan Allen this week? The tricky part is I'd say yes because Keenan Allen and Austin Eckler are almost good anytime starts. But if I'm also being honest, Ravens are a great defense. So I would say yes because I actually don't think there are too many people I prefer over him. However, let me know, Randy Stacy, who's on the bench, and there might be a name that comes up over it. Air Jabron 23, thanks so much for the follow. Carter Baxter, thanks for the follow. Appreciate you guys hitting that follow button. We are live every single day of 2023, so make sure you hit that follow button. We do subscriber-only shows at night, but our shows for everybody during the day. Obviously, we want to make sure we answer all your questions, so hit that follow button today. Mainly Rob, I'd go Stroud over Herbert. CJ Stroud is a great play this week. Jacksonville is really poor in the secondary. They get turnovers, so I could see C.J. Stroud throwing an interception. Make sure you hear that. C.J. Stroud over half an interception is a good play. However, Stroud over on passing yards, also a good play. Stroud could have a monster day. I'll go Stroud over Herbert. Wally DeGoat. I traded Kamara, Chase, and Wilson for A.J. Brown, Thielen, and Rachaad White. Big thumbs up on that. I know it sounds counterintuitive to give up Kamara, Chase, and Garrett Wilson, but you got really good value back. Love A.J. Brown. Love Rachaad White. That is a great trade, Wally DeGoat 23. That's a great trade. Well done. Nice job picking up some value there. Christian Silva, I have Pickens and Shaheed as the 2 wide receivers on my bench. Available wide receiver on waivers or Watson, Godwin, Downs. Godwin and Downs are both better plays than Pickens and Shaheed. I'd rather start Godwin and Downs over Pickens and Shaheed this week. If you guys want to get your fantasy question answered, all you have to do is subscribe on TikTok or go on over to YouTube, Twitch, or Kick. We're answering questions for another 10, 15 minutes or so before I'm going to go out with some friends to the bars, watch some sports. Wanted to jump on. I promised you guys I'd come back on, answer some fantasy questions for a while. And you know Butt Fumble Sports is like the Joker. We're a man of our word. Maverick, pick 1. Shakir, Watson. I really like Justin Watson a lot. I got to agree with you on that. It's a favorable matchup. That said, Shakir of the Bills is probably the one I like the most just because the Eagles, you talked about he just got 11 targets. That was the Eagles defense that was allowing those 11 targets. So that speaks to kind of, yes, the receiver was getting more opportunities, but the Chiefs knew that their game plan was going to be pass heavy. Bills know the same thing. I lean toward Shakir actually, just slightly over Watson. I understand your reasoning, but that's why. Jorge, any bets on the NBA for tonight? We dropped a few on you guys earlier, but I want to make sure I give this one out again. I love the over in the Pacers game. Pistons Pacers is an in-season tournament game. Beyond that, the Pacers are also an offense that scores a ton of points. That is one of my favorite bets of the night, guys. I like the Pacers on the money line as well, but I brought it up earlier. One of my best bets of the day is the over Pistons Pacers. That was going off at about 248.5 earlier today. We talked about it earlier in our show. When the total for an NBA game is over like 245, the over actually hits way, way more. Very good play. So usually you think, oh, Vegas is setting that very high total. I should avoid it. I should go under. Quite the contrary. The over is actually the better play. Christian Silva, last question. Doesn't need to be. We're here for you, Christian. What do you do with Chase and what to ask for if trading is the best option? So if you're going to trade him, I would move away from wide receiver because I mentioned this before. I don't think trading one position for the same position gets you a lot of value. Usually you actually have to give up some value to move kind of laterally at the same position. Look for a running back too. Christian Silva, do you think you could get Derrick Henry? Derrick Henry's value actually might be better than people think. He hasn't been as good this year as others have thought. I think there's an opportunity there where there's kind of the narrative versus production. That might be someone to consider if you're looking out there. Start Josh Downs or Keaton Mitchell or Jacoby Myers. Josh Downs. Wally, Josh Downs is a great play this week. I prefer him over Mitchell and Myers. iClick. Still like Kyron over Mixon and Swift? Yes, I do. I really like Kyron Williams to get a touchdown. Speaking of which, that might end up in my newsletter. Make sure you go to our website, buttfumblesports.com, and go sign up for our free newsletter that will have my favorite NFL bets for Sunday. It'll be in your inbox at 6 a.m. It will have my favorite game picks, total plays, player prop bets, and the DFS lineup that I'll be playing. Want to make sure you guys check it out. I am putting in my picks right now for that, and I got to tell you, this week is really, really good. Neil Dynasty, sorry about the ads at the same time. I have to admit the fact that Twitch is paying us to now broadcast makes me feel good, so sorry about the ads. One of the reasons, though, you can subscribe. Neil Dynasty, I'd go with Amari Cooper. Neil Dynasty, I'd go Amari Cooper over Douglas. Amari Cooper over Douglas would be the play, Neil Dynasty. Appreciate the question. The only reason for that is because I don't trust the passing game of the Patriots enough. I understand that it's a decent matchup against the Giants, but frankly, I actually trust DTR at this point more than Mac Jones. So I'll go Amari Cooper, knowing the matchup against the Steelers also is a little bit more favorable. Olave or Jacobs at the flex. Mainly, Rob, I'll say Olave, but I don't know how much conviction I have in it. That's a bit of a coin flip for me. Olave has the better matchup. Jacobs is going to get more carries than Olave will get targets. You hope Olave gets in the end zone. That's the tricky part. Daniel, my team is Jared Goff, McCaffrey, Laporta, Dolphins D. They all went off. Yes, they did. Cashing tickets. Way to go, Daniel. Way to get a dub in fantasy football this week. Knock on wood. Pluex, choose 4. Pluex, I'd go Tank Dell. I'd go Rashad White. I'd go Pittman. JJ is not playing, so you don't have to worry about him. And actually, the 4th would be Mixon. So the 4 players I'd go with are Tank Dell, Mixon, White, and Pittman. Those would be the 4. Kamara and Puka aren't awful plays, but I think Tank Dell has a really good matchup. Mixon's going to get a lot of carries. His volume goes up. White, I really like to get in the end zone. And Pittman should have a massive day against a bad Buccaneers secondary. Pluex, the reason isn't that I don't like Kamara. It's that I'm prioritizing 4 other players over him. So it's not that I dislike him. It's that there are 4 other players I prefer over him. That's the reason why. If you guys love the content and the conversation, make sure you hit the follow button. Make sure you subscribe. Love having you guys with us every day. Hope you guys follow Butt Fumble Sports. You never miss a show, never miss a video, and always get in on the conversation when we go live. Awareness, I picked up Douglas on my waiver wire. Not a bad move. I'll give it a thumbs up. But again, the value's a little tricky there. The value's a little tricky because the quarterback situation in New England, obviously I don't like what Mac Jones is doing, but Demario Douglas is their wide receiver 1, and they're using him more, showcasing his speed. I think he's a decent own, especially as you have him in the waiver wire pickup situation. If you were desperate for a wide receiver, I'd go, uh-oh. but to have him as a substitute, not a bad play. If you have a fantasy question or a sports betting question, we are live for another 8 minutes or so, and then my ride's going to be here, so I'll take off. But we are answering a few more questions. Trey Wimp, great to have you as a new subscriber. Thank you so much for joining this amazing community of sports fans that comes together every single day. Trey Wimp, throw your question or comment in the chat, and we'll answer it in the time that we have to hopefully give you a good piece of fantasy advice to get a W this week. Nuve DK, Evan Ingram or Taysom Hill? Tricky one because Taysom Hill's value is always a little suspect and has the opportunity to go shooting up if they use him properly. But Evan Ingram's matchup is too favorable. Nuve DK, I'm going to go Ingram over Hill. Ingram over Hill. Do you like Lowry tonight with Robinson out and someone needing to step up? Jorge, I like him more in assists. When it comes to points, Lowry is very, very, how do I put it? It's almost like fickle. You can't rely on him too much. In an assist standpoint, I like him more, though. Pluex, also, JJ announced today that he's running his top speed and might return Monday, literally 2 hours ago. Pluex, I thought I heard Justin Jefferson is out. Yeah, Justin Jefferson unlikely to play Monday night. And then you say 4 hours ago he said he's feeling if I'm feeling good, I'll play. Okay, interesting. I'm getting mixed reports, so appreciate you saying that, Pluex. We'll have to keep our eye on it. Here's what I would say. Pluex, let me actually take a second to address that. Because Justin Jefferson's playing on Monday night, I'm going to avoid him. I'm going to put him away right now. I understand some of you guys might actually want to start him because he's a better option. I get it if that's the situation you're in. But from an advice standpoint, his risk is too great. There's too much uncertainty there. I'd rather give you guys a better, more sure bet or sure piece of advice for Sunday, given he plays on Monday. And your insurance policies are tricky. Like, are you going to pick up a receiver from the Bears or a backup on the Vikings just in case he sits out? Isn't great, Pluex. So I'll stick with the advice I gave. Awareness, thank you for everything, man. Resub this month. You're the best, Awareness. I have to admit, it is awesome to know we have such an incredible community of fans, friends, supporters. You guys show up religiously every single day, and it is unbelievable. I am so shocked, overwhelmed, and humbled by the fact that this community not only grows, but is as passionate as it is. Trey Wimp, full PPR, Olave or Downs? Tricky, tricky, tricky. Trey Wimp, I'm going to say Downs. I think Downs is actually the better play. If you wanted to fade my advice on this one, I'd actually be okay with it. Because Olave, he's the brand name. He's a wide receiver one. He doesn't have a terrible matchup. But I think Josh Downs has too good a matchup to pass up on in the Bucs. I'll go Downs, even though there's risk there. Etienne or Kyren, also tricky. I wish you hadn't started Charbonnet. Trey Wimp, this is why I'm glad you're now a subscriber. Because I hated Charbonnet this week. He was actually one of my five hate running backs of the week, or one of my least favorite running backs. That said, I wish you could have started Etienne and Kyren. Here's the tricky part. Kyren's the better start. I think both could get touchdowns. So surprisingly, Texans are actually good against the run, but they give up more touchdowns to running backs than they do to wide receivers. Kind of an interesting note. So I like Etienne to get a touchdown, but I like Kyren more overall. I think Kyren gets a touchdown, and I think he gets more yardage. So I'm going to say Kyren over Etienne, but it's too bad because I wish you had started both over Charbonnet. They would have been the two better plays. Trey Wimp, again, great to have you with us as a new subscriber. Jorge, Godwin or Rice? I'd go Godwin. Just barely. What do you like, Likely or Pitts? I'm going to go Kyle Pitts, Lethal Jake, but you know the moment I say that, you should probably fade it because Kyle Pitts is the most fadeable player in the NFL. Then also Broncos defense or Giants. I'm going to lean slightly, I think, towards the Broncos. They've been performing well. I think the Cleveland Browns could have some success on the ground, but I think the Broncos could turn them over, get some sacks. Giants defense. Lethal Jake, I don't know. I kind of like the Giants defense too, just because the Patriots are so bad. Lethal Jake, I might flip-flop on that one and go Giants. It's close though. Start Henry, Mixon, or Bijan. Start Henry. Start Derrick Henry. Brash David, start Derrick Henry. Drew, Sabonis over 25.5 points and assists. I'm sorry, I'm not going to jump into the player prop bets just because we don't have that much time in the show. Pluex, trade Hill for Jefferson in a dynasty league. Ooh, I wouldn't, and here's why. I know who the quarterback is of the Dolphins next year. Do I think Tyreek Hill's going to retire after this year? I don't. I think he's at least going to play one more year, though I do think retirement's closer than we think. Justin Jefferson, a lot of question marks about the quarterback in Minnesota. Is it Kirk Cousins? Is it Josh Dobbs? Is it someone else they're bringing in? Jefferson is supremely talented. If you wanted to hold on to him for a dynasty league, he'll be a top 3 wide receiver drafted. But if we've learned anything over the last 5 years, not only is Tyreek Hill dependable in terms of stats, he's dependable in terms of health as well. Brash David, I'd go Michael Pittman. Brash David, I'd go Michael Pittman. Lethal Jake with OBJ questionable. I'm debating flex. Yeah, I wish you could go I hope OBJ's healthy. He's the best play. Cole Do, appreciate you. Once again, another great show. You're too kind, man. You're too good. Yeah, Drew, sorry. It's only because I'm about to run out with some friends to a bar, so I have about 5 minutes left of the show. I want to be quick about it. Trey Wimp, Murray or Herbert, all touchdowns are worth 6 in my league. Man, I hate Latavius Murray this week. I don't like Khalil Herbert this week. You picked 2 running backs that I hate this week. I'll probably say Herbert because he has the better matchup. Murray has literally one of the worst matchups in the league this week going up against the Eagles. Eagles are the best run defense in the NFL. So I'll say Herbert, but Trey Wimp, honestly, anybody would almost be better than those 2. Oh, Trey Wimp, Justin Herbert? Oh, well, Justin Herbert then. Oh, sorry, you're talking quarterbacks. This is why we need the first names. I'm like, Murray or Herbert? I'm going Latavius Murray and Khalil Herbert. No, one of the rare situations, it's the other way. Kyler Murray or Justin Herbert. That was funny. Trey Wimp, that was funny. I'd go Kyler Murray. Trey Wimp, I'd go Kyler Murray this week. That was funny. Trey Wimp, rarely do you get that kind of fun right there. That was great. No issue, Trey Wimp. Drew, I have a QB problem, and I'm in a must-win situation. I would start Trevor Lawrence. Oh, man, I didn't see Fields there for a second. I like Lawrence more than Murray, but Fields could have a good game. I'm gonna lean towards Trevor Lawrence, but it's close, Drew. Man, it's close. Pluex, thank you. Have a great time and fun time at the bar. Yeah, I'm going to watch a lot of NBA. A lot of NBA and NHL. I thought that Black Friday game should have probably been done at night. I thought that would have made more sense. Shop during the day, watch football at night. But, hey, Amazon, Jeff Bezos, you know more than me. So that said, that Black Friday game being over, that went almost perfectly for us. We had the Dolphins. We had the Dolphins covering. We had Raheem Mostert on a touchdown. Tyreek Hill on a touchdown. We gave out Waddle to a number of you guys as a good play. We even recommended Jeff Wilson Jr. for some of those who are desperate for a running back off the waiver wire. He didn't do terrible. Put up some points for you. Lethal Jake, I got KD and Booker on my fantasy team. Was sad KD is out. Started Wagner, though, and he... The Magic! Okay, I got to go on a quick rant here. The Orlando Magic, everybody. They have built an awesome squad of young players who... They haven't gotten the memo yet that they're not supposed to be that good. At the beginning of the season, I told you guys they were one of my favorite over-win total plays were the Orlando Magic. They're making that look so good right now. They're playing phenomenal basketball. They cause the most turnovers in the NBA. They don't turn the ball over a lot themselves. They're a really balanced team. They shoot pretty well. And no one has gotten them in a position right now where they're starting to question themselves like they used to. 2 teams I'm excited about that are coming out of nowhere. Houston Rockets, Orlando Magic. Look out for those 2. By the way, Indiana Pacers are on that list too. Trey Wimp, McBride or Kelsey. I know. I'm going to go Kelsey. I know McBride's a good play, but I got to go Kelsey. Jake, the Celtics kryptonite is... I had the Celtics on the money line today. I'm thinking, oh... They just lost. Celtics will come back. They'll play better. Nah. Or they just won, but rather, I thought they played better against the Magic. Drew, thanks so much for the TGIF. IP Shade 45. That's exactly why I'm going with Kelsey. I love that the Raiders fan brings it up. Kelsey always torches the Raiders. So, Dylan, Kirk, or Douglas. I'd go Christian Kirk. Guys, I'm going to hop off right now. Yeah, Drew being out last minute, that did help. That didn't hurt. Hey, man, hope you had a great turkey day. Is it time to panic on Breece Hall? Hand it to you. The answer is yes, because the Jets are that bad. In play calling, in offensive line, in quarterback, in execution, it is time to panic on Breece Hall. Yep. Guys, I'm going to hop off now so I can go run out with some friends to a bar and watch some sports. I will be back on tomorrow, so make sure you guys hit that follow button. Make sure you subscribe, and I will see you guys tomorrow for a lot of college football, NFL, and fantasy football talk. Until then, have a great night, everybody. Stay healthy, stay safe, and I'll